Welcome to another edition of Hey Bobby with Senior VP of the Cleveland Guardians, my good friend Bobby DiBiasio here on 93.5, 1590 WAKR. We get into baseball team history and, of course, the current team. And, Bobby, when we talk about the current team, this team's hitters, I think, have gotten off to a nice start. Maybe a little bit more clutch is needed, but they've hit the ball. And let's talk about two of them that were honored with Player of the Month attributes just yesterday. Jose Ramirez, Player of the Month, and Stephen Kwan, Rookie of the Month.
Yeah, hello, Ray. Team sweep or swept. We're team streak, aren't we? Pretty crazy how this first month of the baseball season has unfolded. Pretty bizarre the way after that first series in Kansas City, how our season has gone along. But two of the real bright spots, as you said, of course, Jose Ramirez. Jose's such a phenomenal, one of the best players in the game of baseball, and obviously we'll be able to cheer him on for many, many years in the future. For him to earn a Player of the Month, led all players with RBIs and just so consistent. And I think the thing, Ray, that is most interesting is he really wasn't getting pitched to very much. The way Fran Mill really struggled in the month of April, completely lost at the plate, unfortunately, that there was no reason to pitch to Jose Ramirez. So the discipline that takes to be that productive when you're not getting a whole lot of strikes thrown your way just shows you what a real talent he is. And then Stephen Kwan comes out of nowhere, basically, out of spring training, ends up making this baseball team and begins a historic way at the start of the year with the number of times he got on base and the fact he didn't swing and miss and didn't strike out and all of those things. And then was derailed a little bit with that injury, but came back and put the bat on the ball. It's real fun for us in the early stages of this season to have two players to get those kind of accolades.
With a senior VP with the Cleveland Guardians, Bobby DiBiasio, and I remember back in the month of March, we were getting audio back from Bart Swain out in Arizona, and Tito kept talking about, Kwan, he's looking good. Kwan's looking good. And I'm saying, same Stephen Kwan we saw in Akron, who did really well, but I didn't think he would jump so quickly. But obviously, Tito, the staff, and the organization saw the development of this kid. And Bobby, that's where I want to go next. This week is talk about development and internal with this organization. That is the biggest key, whether it be in the staff or position players, from the drafting to Arizona with these rookie leagues, to the minor leagues, to even foreign countries. The Cleveland Guardians have a lot of time, dollars invested in the player development. And I thought you could give us an overview this week.
Well, it's the only way we can have a sustained winning culture is to invest in our young men. It's important for us to provide every single resource that we possibly can to make them the best they can be. I heard an interview, the pregame show with Rosie and Rob Serfolio, our head of our farm system these days. And he talked about our philosophy. We need to provide every single resource for every single kid, upwards of 175 young men who are in our system, no matter where you were drafted. If you're a number one draft pick or you were a 20th round pick, we will provide you every resource to make you the best you can be. I think people need to just take a step back and realize the cost involved. I don't know if there's many teams out there that spend more money than we do on all the different resources that are important. How many coaches you have at every level. We have 4 coaches at every level, which is not the case with a lot of baseball teams. if you think about our player development system, Ray, we have 7 campuses that we need to take control of, whether it's software, technology, strength and conditioning, nutrition, all the things that we feel are so vitally important, again, to provide the best resources for our kids. And those 7 will start in the Dominican. As you said, it's international as well. So a number of years ago, Paul Dolan invested somewhere upwards of $12 to $14 million to build the absolute finest facility in that part of the world. We, in baseball, all 30 teams have an academy in the Dominican. We have the finest. So every kid growing up wants to be a Cleveland Guardian. We have absolutely the finest. We have dormitories, all the things that just weren't available to those young men that live in that part of the world. And all the technology, robotic cameras, the way we scout through the robotic cameras. Then you have our 4 minor league affiliates, where we need to make sure that each of those facilities have all the robotic cameras and the state-of-the-art equipment and the kitchens and the strength and conditioning, because nutrition and strength and conditioning are so vital important to an athlete, obviously. Then we have Progressive Field, of course, and then we have Goodyear, Arizona. So the 7 campuses, it takes a whole lot of people, a whole lot of resources to provide our guys all the necessary tools to be the best they can be.
When you look at the competitiveness of the Guardians, that's why you see it year in, year out. They might not get to that finish line where you want them to go every year, but one thing you can count on is the team is going to scrap and they're going to fight and they're going to have talent because of the investment into the player development. I think sometimes it's understated when we talk about our Cleveland Guardians. Bobby, I wanted to go down the road to history. I love history with you with our show here. Hey, Bobby. And again, this is Senior VP Bobby DiBiasio with our Cleveland Guardians, brought to you by JW Dodato Electric. And I know one of the first guys you had a chance to get together know very well when you came into the organization years ago was Herb Score. And I thought maybe you could go back in time and maybe spend a little time on what he was to the organization, not only as a player, but certainly his impact as a broadcaster. And we kind of even see it today with Hammy, who picked up some key things from Herb.
Well, sadly, we lost Herbie's wife, Nancy, a month or so ago, maybe 2 months now. She passed away in her sleep in Florida, where she was retired. Just an unbelievable couple. The two of them in the 50s, you see photos of them in the 50s, they look like they came right out of a movie. Just so, classy and just so handsome and beautiful. Herbie was one of those gentlemen that I luckily, he put an arm around me early in my career and helped me along. Getting to know people, would always go out of his way to not only introduce me, again, when I'm a young kid in my early 20s in 1979, 80 and 81, just learning my way. And he would always introduce me to every broadcaster that was up in press row and some of the national media, and also down on the field. He would make sure that he would introduce me to the other manager or pitching coach, because they would all come up to him. So I was smart enough to know to stand next to him, because that was a way to get to know everybody, because everybody gravitated towards Herb Score, who burst on the scene in 1955 and became Rookie of the Year, was supposed to take over for Bob Feller. And then Sam McDowell came along, who was supposed to take over for Herb Score. Here's a guy in 1954 won 27 games for Indianapolis in AAA. 27 wins, and couldn't make the starting rotation of the Cleveland Indians at that time. So, but he does in 1955 and becomes Rookie of the Year. Just a fireballer. And he will tell you that fateful day, May 7th in 1957, when Gil McDougall hit a liner back up the middle and struck him in the eye, didn't derail his career, that he had an arm injury that prompted Cleveland to trade him to Chicago, and then he stuck around for a little bit and then just couldn't make it. But then became obviously a beloved broadcaster for 30 plus years. Just a sweetheart of a guy, unassuming on the air, never once would question a manager or say anything negatively about an athlete, because he wore that uniform and knew how hard a job it is to perform on a daily basis in Major League Baseball.
It's Hey Bobby, Senior VP with the Cleveland Guardians, Bobby DiBiasio. Bobby, you were also involved when the designs were coming down at the old ballpark at Progressive Field years ago. And a lot of people were going to the ballpark this week. The Padres and the Blue Jays are in for the entire week. Great opportunity to check out the Guardians. And as we look around the perimeter, there's the left field wall that has some height to it. And then the center field jets out a little bit. And then right center comes in a little bit and down the line. And I thought maybe you could go around that part, because every ballpark's a little bit different. Talk about the design and the idea of what we had with a home run wall at Progressive Field.
One of the things that makes our game, I believe, the best of all sports is the fact that A, we don't have a time clock. B, it's the daily drama of 6 months. And C, and maybe most importantly, every ballpark is different. You play on the backdrop of a completely different facility and setting and landscape all across America. When we were sitting and hearing John Hart and Dan O'Dowd and Hank Peters discuss what kind of facility that they were excited about and what they wanted to do, the first thing out of Hank Peters' mouth was he wanted to make sure that it was at least symmetrical down the lines, that we didn't do anything odd, that the foul poles were the same distance, left field and right field. Now, the fact that we had to put a ballpark and land it amongst 3 main streets in downtown Cleveland, East 9th, Carnegie, Ontario, made the East 9th and Carnegie right field make a 90-degree right-hand turn. And so as the architects decided how they wanted to go about the look and feel of our facility, you have to remember it was Chicago, Baltimore, and Texas, and us were the 4 brand new ones. So how do you make sure that those 4 don't look exactly alike? But the architect, for example, at Camden Yards was the same as the one in Cleveland. HOK at the time, now called Populous, who are helping us with our current renovations over the next couple years. So when we decided, Baltimore obviously had the right field higher scoreboard inlay in a 19-foot wall, and then the warehouse behind them. So we couldn't do that in right field. So we obviously decided to flip it. We didn't want a wall as tall as the Green Monster in Fenway. So ours is half the size, exactly half the distance of the Green Monster in Fenway. And the bleachers sit on top of that. And then as you went around, in the beginning, we had bullpens right behind center field for us, and then in right field for the visiting team. And so the design came about not wanting to imitate or copy the other 3 brand new facilities, but we wanted something unique. We just didn't want a fence that was the same height and that left center and right center were the same distances. So we added the left field wall, implanted the out of town scoreboard back then. People don't necessarily need to see all that anymore. They just look on their phone now and get any game score. We do give the scores out and all that during the game, and we do a little bit of it, but it's not as needed as it was back in the mid 90s. So we just didn't want to copy what was being done and add a little different flavor to a brand new urban baseball only ballpark in downtown Cleveland.
Every ballpark, as Bobby said, to our great game was a little bit different. And I have to say, I love the renovation. It's probably been almost a decade now of really opening up the city in center field as well. I think that's just beautiful to sit in the ballpark and look out there and you see East 9th Street. It's just a beautiful viewpoint from our ballpark. Get up and enjoy it this week. You've got the Padres and a good Blue Jays team coming in for the week. Well, Bobby, great show again. It's Hey Bobby, Senior Vice President with the Cleveland Guardians, with us each week on WAKR. Great visit, my friend. We'll catch back up with you again next week.
Always a treat, Ray. I love it. Take care, sir. Go Guardians.